Check, check, mic check. Check, check, mic check. Welcome to Podcast Envy. I'm your podcast boss, Andrea Klunder, and today I have a PSA for you. Stop asking for free. Also, while you're at it, stop using the word reasonable when you're asking for referrals, references, services, price quotes. Reasonable? What does that even mean? Okay, what am I talking about? Making a podcast, starting a podcast. You could be starting a podcast for a lot of different reasons. You could be doing it for funsies. You could be doing it because you have something really important that you want to share with the world, a message, a resource, a passion. You could be doing it because it's part of your marketing for your business, and you heard that it would be a great way to promote your business and expand and get new clients and et cetera, et cetera. You could be doing it because you want to elevate your own status as an expert in your particular field and you want more speaking gigs and opportunities like that. You could be doing it because you want it to be your online business model. You want to make money podcasting. It is a commercial venture for you. All of these are perfectly reasonable reasons to start a podcast. And there's probably like 100 others that I'm not thinking of right now. I am not here to judge why you want to start your podcast. I am not here to judge whether or not you wish to make money from your podcast. Here is what I am here to judge. Stop asking for things for free. I am so tired of the constant threads in Facebook groups related to podcasting and entrepreneurship in general, but specifically the Facebook groups on podcasting. And this is not a judgment on the groups themselves. This is not like, oh, one group is better than another or blah, 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 blah. Because you could just say, well, Andrea, if you're tired of these threads in these Facebook groups, just unjoin the stupid Facebook group. Well, there's other good stuff in most of these groups as well. But here is what I am tired of seeing. Do I really have to pay for podcast hosting? I mean, isn't there a free podcast host? Why on earth would I pay Libsyn $15 a month? $15 a month, by the way, do the math. It's not that much money. Why would I pay Pippa? Why would I pay Blueberry? Why would I pay? Listen. They're providing you a service. They are a business. They are a company. And in my mind, they're doing crap I don't know how to do. I don't know how to make an RSS feed code. If my free WordPress website can make an RSS feed code, which it can, great, fine, wonderful. But if it breaks, if there's a problem, am I going to call WordPress and they're going to solve my RSS feed code problem for me? No, they're not. Is WordPress going to tell me how to get my show in Spotify or on Alexa-enabled devices? No, they're not. If someone hacks my WordPress site, which... yeah, that's happened before. Not this site. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Please knock on wood, all the wood, knock on all the wood, and breaks everything. Who is keeping that secure? Who is protecting it? Who is taking care of my feed? Because let's face it, when you have a podcast, what you have is a string of code called an RSS feed. That is your intellectual property. That is your product. That is your lifeline to your podcast. Who's taking care of it? Who's minding it? Who's watching it? Who's protecting it and keeping it safe and helping it reach its full potential and go out to all the directories and do all the things? In my case, it's Libsyn. That is who is doing it. And they are doing that not out of the goodness of their heart, not because they love hosting podcasts, which yes, they do, but because they are a business and it is their business to do so, and therefore I should pay them. Okay, well, like, what if you're not making money off your podcast and it's just a hobby and it's an expense? Then it's a hobby and it's an expense. What the heck kind of hobby do you have that doesn't require some kind of financial investment? I mean, like, playing tennis could be a hobby. Well, you have to buy a tennis racket and you have to have shoes and you have to have tennis balls. And I mean, you can go find free courts, but the quality of the court that's free and the availability of the court that's free may not be the same quality as the availability of the court that you're paying for court time for. Nobody's maintaining it. Someone's maintaining it. Nobody's scheduling out time. Somebody's scheduling out time. I mean, you get what you pay for, okay? You get what you pay for. Or you could say, well, like, I can have a hobby that's reading. Well, yeah, you can have a hobby that's reading, but you still have to acquire the books. And maybe that's Kindle, and maybe that's the library, and maybe that's paying for books, but there's still some kind of investment going in. It's that lovely podcast angel music. I do love it so. And today I'm here to tell you that I am my own podcast angel. I don't know if you know this, but Podcast Envy is a one-on-one VIP launch service where you and I will go hand in hand from wherever you are right now to fully launched podcast. First 3 episodes live in all the places. You will have confidence, you will have an action plan, you will know how to move forward, and you will love your show and love the process of podcasting. It took me a year from the time I had an idea to start a podcast to the time I actually launched, because I was DIYing it all the way through, sorting through free online content about how to start a podcast, some of which was outdated, some of which was confusing, some of which was conflicting, and I had a fairly steep learning curve, and it doesn't have to be that way. Learn more, of course, at podcastenvy.com, and feel free to reach out to me to schedule a complimentary 20-minute tea break where we can figure out what it is you need and how I can help. It could be tech, it could be figuring out all the many steps, it could be content, it could be strategy, vocal technique, it could really just be self-confidence and accountability. I'm here. I gotcha. I can help with all those things. Podcastenvy.com. Reach out to me to schedule a 20-minute complimentary tea break, because sometimes, really, it's a lot easier when you've got a boss. Okay, so what if you don't have a lot of money to invest? Like, you really want to do this podcast thing. So just because I don't have $200 a year to pay a hosting service, I can't have a podcast? Or just because I don't have $500 a month to pay a podcast editor, I can't have a podcast? Well, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that you have to find a way to invest in the thing that you want. If you want to make a thing, it has a cost. That cost might not be dollars. Well, for hosting services, it probably is. Maybe you've heard of this thing called Anchor, this app where you can host your podcast on Anchor. Yeah, fine, sure, use Anchor. I don't know that much about it. I haven't used it. I have looked at it. I have researched it, and I've read a lot of podcast threads about it. Anchor is free. You do not have to pay them $200 a year or $15 a month to take care of your podcast. However, when something is free, there is another cost. There has to be another cost. Why would Anchor exist just to provide this all equalizing space for anyone to have a podcast? They have to have a business model. An app does not exist without a business model, without a monetization plan. And if they don't have a plan, well, how are they going to last? Are they going to be around 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. I'm just saying, ask the questions. If it's free, what am I trading? What's the trade-off? What am I not getting? What is the risk? How else am I paying? I mean, we could talk about Facebook right now and privacy and selling data and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we could. We're not going to. It's not that kind of podcast. But let's think about it, people. When you are paying for something, you are the customer. When you are not paying for something, you are the product. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay, so what about editing services? How many threads exist in these Facebook groups that are I'm looking for editing services from somebody who's reasonable. Can I get a reasonable price? Well, what the heck is reasonable? Reasonable is paying somebody what they're worth. So if you're going to pay your podcast editor $150 per episode, you're going to get something much different than if you pay a podcast editor $20 an episode. You just are. It doesn't mean the $150 podcast editor is ripping you off. It doesn't mean that you found some secret solution that everyone else doesn't know of and they're dumb for paying somebody more. And in fact, $150 an episode isn't even the top of the scale. What if you're paying somebody $400 an episode? Well, there are so many variables that go into editing that pricing is wide. And what one person calls editing is not the same as what another person calls editing. There are people out there who will happily charge you $50 an episode or $35 an episode to take 15 minutes of their own time to stitch together your episode, your intro music, your outro music, and run it through some compression so it comes out the right file size and the right volumes for a podcast and call it good. There are other people who will painstakingly go through your episode and manually clean out anytime you make a liquidy sound with your mouth, or anytime the microphone pops, or anytime you take a drink of water, or your guest says a million times. And there are editors who are really more of producers who will also help you with your content, make recommendations for how to improve your episodes, for interviews that go on too long, what to take out so that your listeners are getting the best, juiciest version of your show, who will create custom vocal filters for you to really maximize the sound of your own voice, who will remove background noise, who will go above and beyond to give you the quality that you're paying them for. So I, for one, as a podcast editor and producer for other people and organizations, am done playing the race to the bottom. My work costs what it costs. I will always quote you fairly based on what I believe is the amount of work that will go into making your show sound high-end and amazing. I will not offer a service that I believe is less than what you deserve, even if that means that I have priced you out of my service. It is, in my mind, unreasonable to ask someone to work hard on your show and making you sound amazing for a small amount of money. Editing is a craft. Making a podcast is a craft. Invest in your craft. If you are not going to invest the money in your craft, then invest the time to learn how to do it yourself. Or invest the time in building relationships with people who will trade with you and offer their skills and expertise in exchange for your skills and expertise. I mean, how would you feel if someone was like, oh, I'm looking for somebody to help me do this thing that you're the expert in, that you've put in so much time and training and effort and learning how to do, and you're really, really good at it, but I need something reasonable. I mean, this other guy is charging less for that exact same thing that you can offer me, that you have carefully thought about the price that you're going to ask for it. It doesn't feel good. Stop asking for free. Stop asking for reasonable. It is a craft, whether it is business or hobby, personal or professional. It is a craft. Make your podcast as good as you possibly can. Think about your listeners. Think about what your listeners deserve. Think about how you want to be represented, what your brand is all about. Think about the total experience, and then who are the services, companies, professionals, artisans, technicians, other craftspeople who can help you deliver and be willing to pay for it. And if you can't right now, that's fine. Take the time to figure out how or to learn how. If you're asking somebody to do your editing for you, it's because you don't have the time, the skill set, the expertise, or the desire to spend all of those things on editing. You could be doing something much more valuable and much more productive with your time, and that is why you pay your editor. If you need good cover art, you don't have to pay for cover art. You can make it yourself on Canva. But if you are not good at making it on Canva, or if it looks like crap, or you want it to look better, or you don't have the time to figure out how to do your own graphic design, pay somebody a quote unquote reasonable rate to do your work. And when I say reasonable, I don't mean bargain basement. Music. Why are you asking to use other people's music for free on your podcast? Stop it. Just stop it. Why are you using other people's content? Why are you trying to excerpt other people's shows? I mean, yes, mention other people's shows. Yes, reference other people's work. Yes, be inspired by other people's work. Yes, comment on other people's work. Don't rip off other people's work. Do your own work, craft your own show, make your own content, be willing to pay for what you want to use that someone else is taking the time and effort to do or create or make. Stop asking for free. You, your show, your listeners, you all deserve better than that. Podcast Envy is produced by your podcast boss, Andrea Klunder. That's me. The Podcast Envy theme music is by Valentin Sosnitsky, courtesy of the Free Sound Project at freesound.org, and our podcast Angel music is by Benjamin Mastropolito, also on freesound.org as Lemon Cream. All music is licensed under the Creative Commons. Our episodes are mixed by Edwin Ruiz, and hey, if you want your show to sound as good as ours, hire us. Put the magic audio mojo of the Creative Impostor Studios to work for you. Thanks so much for listening, and here's to making your podcast the envy of everyone else.